Hello, hello. Just waiting. See if anybody shows up live today. Just thought I'd take some time and see if anybody's out there wanting to talk some baseball or projects. So I am up to 250 um, players and more ready to come. I should knock some more out today. I've got some time to mess with it today. I don't know about this upcoming week. Um, come probably Thursday. I'm going to be pretty tied up from Thursday through next weekend, so I'm going to see if I can get a little bit done tonight, and then maybe a little bit Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Big Clue, what's happening, man? Um, Doing good. Just thought I'd pop in with an update and show you where we're at. Pull up the database and thought I'd go live while I had some time, and I just hit this number. So nothing too spectacular, but I have 250 players done. Uh, I think I'm probably a little bit more than halfway. I don't know what the final count's going to be. I'm going to guess 400 to 500 at least. Um, I haven't gone through to like kind of figure out a total list of everybody that I'm going to card for the game or build into the file, but my gut tells me it's going to be probably close to 500, right? Definitely over 400. So I'm over halfway there. And I've done that in a maybe a little over a month. I don't know. Maybe it's been 5 weeks I've worked on this. Sometime somewhere between 4 and 5, I think. I'd have to go back and maybe retrace the footsteps and find out when we started talking about this, and I decided, hey, let me start cranking some players out and tackle it. But some of the ones I've done recently have been interesting. Some of these are the ones that Big Clue and MV brought up when they were kind of throwing names out there to see if I created them. So I put them on my to do next list, and I got several of those done. Some of those names, I'll just rattle off some of those names, are, oh, let's see, Mac Eggleston, John Barnes, Bill Monroe, Benson, Jimmy Crutchfield, Danny McClellan, Bill Gatewood, Louis Tiant Sr., Max Manning, Jewel Thomas, Bill Cash, Barney Morris, High Pockets Hudspeth, Reuben Jones, Sam Bennett, John Hines, Johnny Nippy Jones, Johnny Washington, Leroy Grant, Jelly Taylor, also known as Satan. Not the greatest nicknames, but it's a nickname. Leroy Taylor, Lloyd Ducky Davenport, Dave Showboat Thomas, Eggy Dallard, Henry Blackman, Herb Baldy Sewell, Danger Talbert, also known as Old Reliable, Harry Little Jeff Jeffries, Matias Rios. So those are some of the ones that I've been able to get done. And I've got a handful of in the shortstop category that I've been looking at, which is like Jake Stevens, Jake Dunn, Leroy Morney, Cool Turner, Eddie Miller, George Wright, Dick Wallace, Haas Walker, Fred Hutchinson. So that I've kind of gone with the WAR listing and figured out, what do I need to build still. So I'm at a point where I tackled some first baseman for a while. Then I went on to third baseman. Now I'm tackling some shortstops, and I just kind of keep it fresh. Get about 8 to 10 at each position, and kind of work my way down the positional career WAR list, and see how that really works out. I haven't carded anybody that's really replacing some of the premier people I've done at the top. I've been surprised with some of the players that have been good fielders and good hitters that I did not know before. But as you can see, nobody's really bumped up into this top, 15 or 20 category lately as far as OPS goes. But I did do some pitchers a while back. So let me Let's just view pictures and take a look. You can see here if we go by WHIP, there are some pictures in here. Bill Gatewood's one that was fairly recently carded that I put in there, and that one kind of stands out. Another one was, let's put game started here. There's Louis Tiant Sr. You can take a look at his card here. Left-handed pitcher. And let me go to, let me go find him and edit him. I've already seen something that I want to correct. In his description, yeah, about 1930 there. So that was a fun one to do. So I've got him. Another one here, Barney Morris was another pitcher that I've done recently, two-time All-Star, right? Won a World Series with the Cubans in '47, known as Big Ad. So if we look at him, 121 ERA plus. It's interesting to see kind of based on era, 121, same with Tiant. You know, you can look at like I guess the earned run average, right? But that ERA plus really helps when it starts figuring out how they are compared to their base year and the stats from that. So it's kind of always nice to see them get built into the game where then I can see what that number is inside. So getting more and more players. And it's amazing when I look at this and I think, yes, I still got so many more to go. And I'm talking about quality players that, you know, have above average WAR or right about it, or significant amounts of innings pitched or at bats, even if they might be just a tiny bit below average. But anyway, fun stuff. Any suggestion? I think it's just me and you, Big Clue, right now. Any suggestions out there you've got for any other players you'd like to see? Throw them in the chat and let me know. Um, I'll add them to that list. I've got, like I said, I've got probably 8 shortstops identified to build out here next. I'm working on Jake Dunn right now. Oh my gosh, here's MV. My 2 inspirations here on this project, and 2 gentlemen that know a lot about the Negro League players. And I don't just mean players that we've all heard of if you're a baseball fan. I mean deep, deep knowledge of players. So MV, here's the, since you're just joining us, I am at 250 as of right now. I've got partial stats done for a couple other players. Jake Dunn's the next one that I will be building. And then I'll be running about 8 other shortstops coming up. So you 2 may know these names, but I'm going to be doing Jake Dunn, Leroy Morney, Cool Turner, Eddie Miller, Manuel Regal, George Wright, Dick Wallace, Fred Hutchinson, and Hoss Walker. Yeah, MV 150 to go to hit that 400. And I was telling Big Clue, who was on here a little bit ago, I actually think I know I'm going to be able to get over 400. That isn't going to be a problem from just kind of a quick glance. I didn't go through and like kind of make a master list of everything I was going to do. So I'm just kind of working my way down that career WAR for each position and getting people that, you know, have some good WAR value, and or some of them that might be just a hair below or right at a 0 WAR, but they played significant, you know, games or had at bats or innings pitched. I'm going to get those players as well. I think it may be I may be able to get closer to 500 without any doubt. Right? It's just a matter of timing. I'm over halfway there, and I've done it, I think, in no more than 5 weeks. You guys may be able to tell me when I started this, but it was back in January sometime, the middle. So this might I might just be 5 weeks into it. So if I kept the same pace, even if I gave myself 6 weeks, another month and a half, I think by April 1st, I could get over 500 if I keep at a similar pace and even slow down slightly. I think 450 plus by April 1st, by the time baseball season rolls around, would be nice. Um, Interesting finds. Why, yes. Let me pull up interesting finds. Let me pull the database up itself. Well, I can kind of show you some of the newer players I've done. I've got on, I'm stopping at around 40-man rosters here once these are filled, and then doing a second one for their time frame. So if we look at 20 to 24 here, not sure if I've got any newer ones here. Here's one I just did. Matias Rios. Had no idea who this person was, right? Um, an infielder, basically decent shortstop, can play third base as well. Not a great hitter. You could tell he was there for his field, right? He's a 231 hitter. Um, so he's pretty new. The other one here was High Pocket Hudspeth, who I did not know. 309 career hitter, right? So his batting line came out really good. So he's a 325 hitter. So that moves him into, a good spot. 6'4", 200-pounder. Not a great fielder, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he's a 4 at first, but he's a big guy known for his bat. Um, and again, that 14, that's pretty decent power given the year right here and the style of play. So I would say I had no idea who he was before, so that was a fun one to do. This one here, this guy has one of the highest range ratings at third that I've seen. Um, and he's not a bad hitter, right? He's a 281 hitter, Henry Blackman for the Hawks. That's my made up name, the Hawks. Somebody's thinking, is there a real Hawks? No, I gave franchise names to these teams just so they'd have something. The Bulls, the Hawks, the Stars, things like that. These are just placeholder teams that are dedicated, for these time frames. So using 1923 for Henry Blackman. That was a player I had no idea about. Let me see. I also have, go look at this one. Eggy Dallard, that was a player that I just did. 269 hitter, kind of average hitter, but he can play first and some outfield. So he had substantial amount of playing time in the league. So he needed to be carded. Harry Jeffries is one that I've done here in the last few days. A lot of these, I crunched the numbers the last 3 days or so, and then I just built them into the game today. And Little Jeff, this guy, Harry Jeffries, 7 at third, 6 at short. He can play any of those positions. And yeah, 280 hitter. So, there's no real players out there that are going to be 350 plus hitters, right? A lot of those are done, that kind of the cream of the crop there. Now I'm down to those next. There's still some really good players mixed in with some of the ones I haven't done, right? And then we're going to get into some average. If you rank the file by salary, who are the guys 30 to 40? Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah, very good for scouting report. And I'll show you that. Let me pick up a couple other ones. Mac Eggleston here, another cool player that I built right here. An 8 catcher with an 8 arm, so really good defensive catcher, but he's batting 314. So there's kind of a catcher that may go unnoticed for some people. They don't know much about. So when you talk about scouting, and he can play some other positions, third, left, and right. So that'd be a nice person to have on a team. Uh, let's see who else we got. Let's try. Okay. These are all fairly new. Dave Showboat Thomas right here. 270 hitter, good first baseman, known as a good defensive first baseman. Oh, that's a go. Yeah, build scouting based on salary or salary. Kind of sounded like celery when I said that. They are two different things. Jelly Taylor, three-time All-Star first baseman, noted for his glove, later became a manager. And you've got 269 hitters. So there's some average players in here, just slightly above. Lloyd Davenport, Ducky, this guy here, I knew nothing about. Six-time All-Star, batted over 300 for his career, and really good outfielder. And I'm trying to think if there's another one that stands out. Oh, Josh Johnson. So was a catcher. Not a great defender or arm, but if you look, he's a 319 hitter. So some fun ones. So let's do a little scouting. So let's go into the database and start searching it. And let me know, MV, if there's any way you want this sorted or to see. But let's do all players. We can put in age, even their year, rating, value. Let's do expanded batting, refresh. So here's we have the value. And a lot of these, you're familiar with the names, right? I think all of these pretty much have been in there. Let me see if there's any new ones that pop in. These are all players that you've all seen. They've been there for a while. Now let's pop down to this group here, which is going to be that 29 to 50 range, and take a look at some of these players. And boy, here's one that stands out, right? Oscar Levis. Now he's going to get that value for. I'm having all batters, right? He doesn't have that many at bats, so he's getting a lot of that value for pitcher because he probably played a couple fielding positions, so he's in here as well. In fact, we're going to just look at batters. I could take that batting minimum to 200 plate appearances, and let's refresh. It'll get the pitchers out of there. Why is Bill Cash that low? Let me take a look at this. Oh, I know why he's that low. Look at his average. He's batting 38. So let's go pull up Bill Cash. Now, this is the fun thing about doing this. I get to see stuff like that. So Bill Cash has got some bad batting numbers. So there he is. Edit batting and see what's going on with Bill Cash here. And I'll pull up my sheet. Find him. Okay, 125. Let's see, 125, 426. Aha, here we go. It's 115, 16. So there we go. 115, 16, 6, 6. All the entry numbers were off because, I do this manually. 54, 44. 1, 45, 2. So we'll get him cleaned up here in a moment. 502210. 2210. Okay, it'll auto do. Let me run my ratings on this guy. Now we'll take a look He's got to have a value higher than 50,000 or whatever it was. So let's take a look at Bill Cash now. There we go. Now he's 5 million. Nice. So again, always fun when I come on here and do this because it forces me to go maybe display some things and I can catch an error or so. So that's great. So we got those batters. Batting minimum, at least 200 plate appearances. So we're going to go, kind of weed out some of the pitchers that batted a lot. And let's go to that value again. So we could go value, age, year. Here we go. Here's one I wasn't familiar with either, left-handed batter, Vic Harris. Um, George Britt and Jose Munoz. Again, pitchers that played quite a bit in the field as well. So they're going to even be here because I've got the filter at 200 plate appearances. Let's go down to the next tier. And I'll let you take a look at that, and maybe there's something. Heavy Johnson stands out. Yeah. I didn't really know about Heavy Johnson until I started this as well. And when we look at him, look at his OPS. He's top tier. And when we look at him, I like this. And that was some of the bio information I got from some of the resources that said, hey, he's a heavy player with a heavy bat. Not a great fielder, but he's, let's see what he's at. Maybe the years I'm rating. Yeah, he's pretty good at catcher. I might have to go back and double check that catcher rating, but he's not too good anywhere else. But yeah, really good value here. He's spot catcher, right? He's only got 9 games, but he can play left or right. Even he's a one in center, in an emergency. But the bat, pretty powerful. 19 home runs is a ton on this file. His OPS is over 1,000, so that should tell you something. 41 doubles, 16 triples, 19 home runs. He's an extra base monster. What else? Which other one kind of stands out as we go through here? Let's even go down another page and look for some real hidden gems. Bill Monroe was, I think, a new one that was recommended by one of you. Let's take a look at Bill Monroe here. Good hitter and slick fielder, known for showboating and trash talk. Yeah, Judd Wilson's like a 340 something hitter. He is a really, really. I think he's probably top 10. He's guaranteed top 10 player. But Bill Monroe, yeah, not a bad. He's 287 hitter, but he's a good fielder. And what's interesting is he's a good fielder at second, third, or short. Bill Pierce is another one. Led the league in home runs in 1924 with the Lincoln Giants, but he's a 289 hitter. Another good fielder. I mean, look, he's above average in all. Really good first baseman. He can catch for you and play second. So to me, like as you all start that are going to be playing in this league, as everybody starts looking at, ooh, who do I get? I think the real value is having a file that we can look at and that you can see all of their ratings at the various positions along with knowing what kind of hitter you're going to get, right? Oh yeah, Wilson Reedus. Let's go pop him in. That's another fairly new one right here. Let's click on Wilson Reedus. Two-time All-Star, 324 hitter. Not a great fielder. No more for his batting, but hey, you can still put him in the outfield. He's a good player, Wilson Reedus. Not too much speed. I mean, that's not that many stolen bases for that era, but yeah, he's decent. Who else we got as we kind of go down page by page here. This was a player I wasn't familiar with, Jerry Benjamin. Gotta make a note myself to go and correct my 2 W's right there. So make me a little go-to list here after I get off my broadcast on who I need to go in there and correct. So I'll write down Jerry Benjamin on my correct list. And again, fielder, play all outfield positions, 301 hitter. Fun there. Now let's go down even one more. Let's go down here. You can see that next level. There is Robert Hudspeth down here. That may be a good value too, because if we look at him, again, it's probably got him rated a little lower because he doesn't have great range at first, but can you live with the 4 versus a 7 at first if you can get a 325 hitter, right? So be fun to sit with a decent amount of power. What else we got here? Wade Johnson. Is he the page up MV? Let me see. Yep, Wade Johnston right here. 317 hitter. He was a over 300 career hitter and led the league in triples one year. And so you got an average outfielder, can play all the positions, and a decent batter. So it is interesting as we start clicking down here. Some of these 300 hitters. Johnny Washington's a fairly new one that I've done recently, as was Lloyd Davenport. Yeah, Louis Santop. This guy, that's a bargain down there. And he's a 330 hitter with a 9 arm at catcher, right? So he's average at range, but he's got a heck of a gun. This is the guy I think that threw Ty Cobb out 2 or 3 times. So really known for his arm, but yeah, he's a left-handed catcher. So I'm thinking in a draft league like this, I'd love to have this guy, right? And then you could go get another catcher and platoon him. But this guy would be great to bring in just to throw out runners and a left-handed bat, good size player. Yeah, 330 hitter. And look, the funny thing is, I don't know why it's valuing him this low, but oh well. I wonder what his. Let's take a look at his OPS. 123. He's above average. This was Johnny Washington that I did. Won the league batting title in 40. 319 hitter. Not a ton of power. See what kind of fielder he was. Not a great fielder at all. Oh, MV, I would have him there in a heartbeat. That guy. And let's just take a look at. Let's be interesting. And here's the other thing. Let's look at just people that qualify as catcher. So now we can just look at catchers. And I've got 37 people carded that can play catcher. And if we go value, you can see who stands out in the most value, and that's Josh Gibson. And then the next one they have ranked right behind him is Bill Pettis. Now remember, some of these, I would say, here's what we can do. Say all, none. We could say fielding minimum. I don't know, even know if that's fair to say 50 games at catcher. Because sometimes maybe they've got 20 or 30. It's different. So let's just refresh it. But let's take a look at the value again. And you can see here Bill Pettis is ranked high. And we look at his card. 323 hitter. Let's look at fielding. But look, he's only got 6 games at catcher. So he's a 4 and a 4 arm. So I guess we could search it a variety of ways and maybe look at fielding rating minimums or something like that. Heavy Johnson, again, like you said, really great at somebody that can play catcher. But if you wanted substantial games played at that position, I don't think he's going to be the guy. He's got 9 games there. Uh, George Brett is interesting. Brett is a pitcher, pretty much, but he can also bat a little extra, and he can play these extra. He's got 11 games at catcher, so he's kind of like double duty Radcliffe in a way, right? Is a good two-way player, but didn't play a ton of games outside of pitching. Biz Mackey is another guy. To me, if you don't get Josh Gibson and you want another catcher, I know Santop's got a great arm, right? But he's got an 8 arm. Biz Mackey does, and he's an 8 catcher. So I don't know if it's Santop or Mackey or having both on your team, right? That might be a good way to go. But Campanella is on this file as well, so he's top. He's a top catcher up there. 8 catcher with a 6 arm, and he can play a little bit of outfield as well. So there are some good catchers up there. And again, I've still got to get deeper on the career war for catchers. I'll be doing more of those, in the coming weeks as I get some of those get in. Here's another guy that played a ton in the recognizing for major leagues. Mike Gonzalez, right? Played in the MLB as well, but 275 hitter, but real good fielder. You got double duty Radcliffe right here. Okay, a decent pitcher. And then he can also catch for you. So it's almost like every other game he's not pitching, he can catch, and then take a day off and pitch. And so there's some options there, but it's just kind of a fun way to just look position by position and look at value. Let's take a look at first baseman. And you can see a lot of these players are rated at so many positions, they might fall in on a lot of these and could be misleading. So if we look at just first baseman and say, hey, at least 50 games at first base. This kind of really gives you the core people that were really serious at that position. And here they are. And we can see them by value. So this guy here, right? I don't know if he gets as much love when everybody starts talking about great players, but Ben Taylor, this guy's batting is just phenomenal. 343 in the 20s. And look at he can pitch in a spot. He's worked about 14 games worth of pitching, right? But he's a 9 rated first baseman. In fact, I believe he is the one that taught, who's Josh Leonard? Look at this. Now I'm making another one. That's Buck Leonard. So I'm going to change Ben Taylor bio. I got another note to go fix. He taught Buck Leonard to play first base. Then if we look at first base for Buck Leonard, we can see he's a 9 at first, 328 hitter, 27 home runs, another great hitter. Pettis, Mule Suttles, and here's Judd Wilson that I think MV was talking about a moment ago. And he's got power, extra base hits, slugging percentage. I mean, he's just under 1,000 OPS. And then when we go to fielding, he play all over the place. I mean, he's a little above average at third, average at second and short. I mean, for value, this guy's a top 10 pick, in my opinion. Very versatile. Ed Ryle and Tank Carr. Yeah, let's take a look at. Here's George Tank Carr. That's pretty good for the value they have assigned. And he can play some positions. 305 hitter, He can even catch. Like he's got 6 games at catchers. He can play first, second, third, or right field. So another, yeah, I agree. MV Ben Taylor is awesome. Ed Ryle. Let's see where I've got Ed. So here's Ed, 318 hitter, left-handed batter. He was a pitcher and first baseman. So as you can see here, he's got a decent amount of at bats. He's only a 4 at first base, but when we look at pitching, he's almost a full-time pitcher. You get 25 starts out of this guy. Um, right at average. He's a 104 ERA plus. So, he's an average pitcher and he can bat. So with a decent average. So flexibility there. I think what's going to make this league so fun compared to, most baseball is the amount of two-way players there are here. And by that, I mean the amount of pitchers that actually played a decent amount. I'm talking at least a handful of games each season in several positions. Even older baseball seasons, you'd see that, right? Where, somebody might go out and play 3 or 4 games at first and 4 or 5 in the outfield in the 20s and 30s and so on. These players take that even to another level. It's 2 to 3 times the amount of positions they play. You see pitchers that could bat halfway decent, getting a couple positions that they could play. So to me, it makes it fun as a draft league because of the variety. Definitely has a different feel to it. See who else stands out here first. Let's take a look at second baseman. Let's go second base and at least 50 games at second. So now we're getting into the core second baseman. And again, I still need to work my way down the list here for people with substantial games. Right now, Larry Doby is the highest rated. And during his time in the Negro Leagues, even though he had played a little bit of center field, he was about 85% of his time was at second. So he's got a good line. George Scales, here's another player. There's Bingo DeMoss down there. Just doesn't really have the hitting, but he's a slick fielder. And I know he's a favorite of MV. But as I build more names are popping up above Bingo. But so we look at George Scales here, 312 hitter. He's an 8 second baseman and he can play third. So it's a nice option. And Ryle is a hitter, but he's both. He's a two-way player. Let me go back and take a look at pull that up for you, MV. If we look at Ed Ryle here, the big time pitcher. So let me pull up his data. Pretty substantial pitcher given, I'll bring this thing over here so we can take a peek at him. Boom, here's Ed Ryle. But if you look at some of these, he was a main starter in some of these seasons right here where you've got, 60, 74 games and he's starting 40+% of those a couple of the years and all that. So after you run him through MLEs and take it out to the 154 and all that good number crunching stuff, he's got enough there to be able to pitch 36 games and start 25. So yeah, if you look at him, he's pretty much a pitcher and then maybe a better than part-time batter because yeah, 70 games is what it would like kind of rank out to in a 154 game season. You'd expect him to play 70 at first. Ed Ryle. Let's take a look at third baseman with at least 50 games at third, and those are the ones I'm getting. Oh no, shortstops. We might have a decent amount here. Yeah, you know why we're having a decent amount? Because I just got done building probably about 10 of these, and this in the coming days, shortstop will probably get about another 12 added to them, hopefully by tomorrow. So let's take a look at the value here. And here's Carlos Blanco, 286 hitter, but he's a 7 at first and a 9 at third. So no doubt, however, the game engine puts value on him. I don't know what the breakdown is, but they're definitely valuing their hitting based on their OPS plus and that, and then also fielding ratings because he's a little above average, 121. There's Judd Wilson. In fact, what's interesting is that they've got, I don't know about this, MV, they've got Carlos Blanco and Manuel Cueto ahead of Judd Wilson. I don't know if I would go this, although for this time frame, that 281 is a lot stronger than it may appear. It's just 119 OPS, but again, he's playing a couple tough positions in there, and he's rated high defensively. So the game must like that for some reason. Although I like this. I like, he's not going to be great fielder at anything, but man, you can play him everywhere. And his OPS plus is 135. So I might weight this a little different here, but so to me, value wise, Judd Wilson's the man. See, here's another one's fairly new, Todd Allen, third baseman. He's an 8. He's above average third baseman for sure. He's a good third baseman. The batting, again, you look at 280 and then you say, but it's a 125 OPS when you look at this line being converted over to 1916 National League equivalent. Not a bad batter, right? So it's extremely, important to look at this within context, right? Not easy just to go, okay, 281, I'm going to take the 302 because the 281 hitter may be better. Dewey Creasy. These were fun ones that I enjoyed here. He has not a good fielder, but he's a decent batter, right? So he's a 131 OPS. In fact, he's even better than some of the ones that might have higher averages because look at the amount of home runs he hit in that era, 22. So what I'm telling you here is anything 20 and above on this file is a significant power hitter, right? Now, Josh Gibson's in a whole different class, right? And then you've got the Turkey Stearns and Mule Suttles and all that kind of the next level. And then you get into what I call the third tier right there behind it, kind of home run power. But Dewey Creasy here definitely has some pop in the bat. This one I just did, Dink Mothel. I'm going to go have to find him for you, MV. He might be coming up. Do you remember what position he plays? I can't remember offhand. Probably plays several. So here is Danger Talbert. What a great name. Also known as Old Reliable. 117 OPS, right? He's a 268 average, rated in 1907. Had his career really cut short. He got sick. But 268 hitter with no home runs, and his OPS is 117. So he's just a hair above average, right? So it's all about that context. If we look at fielding, he's a really good third baseman. Can play a little bit of second. Herb Sewell that I rated today as well. I just finished him up before I went on the air. In fact, he was the last player I finished right before I went live today and added him to the 40s team. Oh, that's pretty bright. I was just picking different colors to have these teams stand out. And this lime green is Seahawk green is pretty bright. But this guy was a two-time All-Star, and he led the league in different offensive categories, right? So he's really known for his offense. He's a 5 at third base, um, but he's a 288 hitter, 106 OPS. So again, one of those categories that's just average to good, between that average and good category. That's kind of where I'm down now with the WAR and the players that I'm building. So it's this is the people that most folks don't know about. If you're just hearing about Negro League greats for the first time, and most people know Josh Gibson and Satchel Paige and all that, but this is what's been enjoyable to me, is getting down at this level and really learning more about these players as you kind of come down from the A players to the B, and then down into the C, and maybe even the C minus and D players. Is pretty cool. So second base, we're going to go look at Dink. Dink Mothel, there he is. Switch hitter. There you go. Basically a utility player for 15 years, very versatile. And it's interesting you said that, MV, because that's what I've got down for his bio that he was noted for. And yeah, and here it is. He can play everything but catcher and short. This is shortstop on his team's never got hurt or called in sick, because he'd had some starts there for sure. But yeah, definitely an average fielder that can play all over. Has got a good arm in the outfield. And when we look at batting, dead average, right? At 104, I mean, he's going to be average. So again, when you're, I guess, scouting, which I know MV's doing here for the upcoming. In fact, anybody joining us that may not know this, there will be, I believe the name is going to be what I've got my league name here to be, the Buck O'Neill Tribute League, that Beatles Eternally on his channel is kind of like the follow up to the Ned McGreevy Dead Ball Project league that everyone there had. I know he's planning on doing, once that league wraps up, something in between, in anticipation of waiting until my file is completely done and we have that 400 to 500 players ready to go. I don't know exactly what that project will be, but this league file will ultimately lead to a draft league of, I want to say, well, I think we thought about 10 to 12 teams. I actually think we could have as many as 16 teams. Honestly, my goal is to have, if I can get close to 400, over 400 or something, we could have, I think 16 teams would be really cool, right? Two divisions of 8, um, and have it set up like the old AL and NL kind of thing. I mean, I think that's going to be very easy to do. Now the key is, are there 16 people in the community that would want to, grab a team and play along with this project? That might be the big ask. No doubt we could get 10 to 12. I don't know if we could get 16, but I don't know how you all feel. I think if we could, that would be, to me, that would be the perfect way to, I guess, dig deeper into the players, right? Versus just having, a smaller number of teams. Yeah, we're going to have better talent, um, kind of more all-star team looking things. But to me, the more teams, if we could get 16 teams worth, you're going to get to see players play that you might not, right? You're going to get down into these players right here that are just average to good. And it brings a lot more, I guess, managerial and drafting strategy into play. Let's take a look at outfield. Let's look at shortstop first. Minimum 50 games at short. Oh, 20 by 25. I think 20. Yeah, we got it. You know what could be cool with 20 is you could do 4 divisions of 5 teams. That might be actually really cool, right? You have 5-team divisions. And yep, 20 by 25 is 500. Yeah, and you know what's interesting too? Even if we were just under, we could almost get away with the way these players can play so many positions. We could almost get away with 20 by 22 or 23, even if we hit it at 450, 440 to 460 range for sure. But if we're that close, then why not just crank out another 40 and hit the 500? So that should be the goal. I think that may be the kind of longer term goal right now is hit 500, and then we can do 25 man rosters, 20 teams, 4 divisions of you could do two different leagues at like an AL, NL, and 5 team divisions. That would be pretty fun. And then with 5 team divisions, you get that who you have 4 division winners, then you have championship series, and then the World Series. That'd be a nice breakdown. So I'm halfway there exactly. So what the heck? Let's keep going. Check out the value in the shortstops here. Interestingly enough, look how high rated Monty Irvin is. Monty Irvin's pretty good, and here's why. OPS is 179. He's got 25 home runs. I mean, just a great batting line, and he can play all over the place. So here's another one. Like I'm thinking, why is he rated above Willie Wells and Pop Lloyd? Well, okay, let's look at it. This is probably why he's rated this good at all these different positions. He can play every outfield position, short, third, and second. This would be a good grab. Pop Lloyd, of course, is there. He's a 10 at short, but if we look at his batting, he's still a great batter, but not as much home run pop as some of the other players. And who else we got here? Who's on the bottom end of this? Look at Bobby Williams. Shortstop, also managed. It's about all I could. When you see that, it's like so and so played from here and played for a variety of teams. That's all I could dig up on him bio wise. Fielding, hey, he's an 8 shortstop. So you got a good fielding shortstop. May go under the radar, but he might go under the radar for this reason. He's an OPS of 61. That's well below average. And, so again, one of those, I call him one of those Dal Maxville or who's the other guy? Mark Belanger type, players where, yeah, as you get into a deep league, if we have 500 players, this guy may factor in, right? You're going to run out of some of these shortstops that are good hitters and fielders, and then you're going to be left with, I guess I'm just going to have to go grab a good fielder. And to me, that would be the other fun thing of having a deep league like 500, is because everybody gets a chance to come in. MV says he stars in every game. MV, um, you own every season of Action PC Baseball, but there's one that's going to be coming out that you don't own. I'm just going to say that. So there just may be a Negro League file coming out for Action, an official file from Action pretty soon, FYI. But yeah, Bobby Williams. So there's one. Matias Rios. See, yeah, he's a 7 at short. Look at his batting. He's 231, 56 OPS. This guy isn't going to damage anything. He couldn't smack his way out of a wet paper sack. But let's say you get down there and you don't draft. Say we've got 20 teams, right? It may be that you pick up a guy like this as a backup shortstop just to have as a defensive sub, right? So that's a cool thing I like about a league that's large enough that it's not just everybody's got a Hall of Famer at every position. That gets kind of boring. So to me, I think if we have as many as 20 teams, it's just going to be even more fun, more strategy, um, more options, that kind of stuff. Keep your eye out. Won't be too long. MV. It just may be a um, an all-time greatest teams file. So what else we got? So that's shortstop. Look at, here's another name that's up here too, Frank Austin. Take a look at Frank Austin. What's he? Talented bunter with good range and a mediocre arm at shortstop. So again, he's got good range. It's a 319 batter, 128 OPS. Another option at shortstop. If you think about this, MV, I'll give you a little teaser. When you look at action, one of the things they include with a lot of their games is like the Major League Baseball's like a top 20 greatest team file. Sometimes they provide that with like the basic game or whatever. It just might exactly be something like that, like a top 20 Negro League baseball file with the top 20 teams ever. Single season, you know what I mean? What else are we looking at here? Now let's go take a look at left field. Can I do all outfield? Yeah, let's just do left. At least 50 games at left. So these would be primary left fielders by value. And the highest main left fielder we have here is Jimmy Lyons. Fleet-footed player, was a great base stealer. Well, let's see. Yeah, he stole 40. He's got 42 and 297 hitter, 135 OPS. Fielding, yeah, an 8 in left, 9 in center. This would be another good player to have on there. I don't know if he's under the radar at a 10 million value, but I mean, I don't know if many people would have him in their first or second round, but this would be a good pickup. Jimmy Lyons. MV, this just may be you and Big Clue and whoever else is here. I'll hang out for a few more minutes and run through this. People be tuning in here wanting to see a game or something exciting, and they're like, here's this guy again, just talking about all these players. But I enjoy doing it. And it's kind of fun to kind of look through here now that I lift my head up from just doing the entry and research and actually just kind of sit back and look at the file and see where people rank when we start filtering by position. This is kind of enlightening because it's like pulling my head up from the work and seeing what the whole file looks like. Carlos Colas at the bottom, barely above average hitter, good speed for a catcher, not a great fielder. He's got some speed. That's probably why he's ranked low. Uh, Johnny Jones. Here's a player that I had not heard of before. He debuted with the Detroit Stars. Fielder, a really good fielder, and plays second or the corner outfield positions. Batter is right, average batter. This was a guy, I'm surprised he's ranked this low, Roy Parnell. 320 hitter, really good batter. Just average or just a hair below in the field. Take a look at center field for at least 50 games. And we have, and the one thing I'm going to do, I can't remember the years I used, but I think I told you that Turkey Stearns, the years I used, he was mainly a center fielder and not left field, but I may go back and swap out one of those years to get more left field use out of him. Just a thought, right? But or I'll leave him as is. You can play him in left. He just doesn't have a ton of. Let's pull Turkey Stearns up. You can see he's only got 5 games that he played in left those years I'm using, and 3 in right, but he's mainly a center fielder. And when you hear people talk, they talk about what a great left fielder he was. Well, he didn't play as many games in the left field as people think. So, yeah, if we're going to look at center fielders, I mean, although he hasn't played good in the few games I've played online to test this file out. I don't know how you pass up Oscar Charleston. So MV, that's awesome, man. He's listening to my stuff on his travels between Cardiff and London. Cool. So I have center fielders here. I'm just trying to think if there's one that might stand out here that could be really good value. Pete Hill, strong throwing arm, ability to hit for average and power, 124 plus, pretty decent. Now let's take a look at right field. Then we'll go look at some pitchers. At least 50 games at right. There's Heavy Johnson, who to me is like great. But Charlie Smith, there's another guy that I wasn't as familiar with. It lets me know that other than maybe the top 40 or 50 players, I wasn't really too familiar. I had no idea this player would rate that high. He's got a 176 OPS. This puts him in that category, that top 10 category, when it comes to hitters that you could draft. Um, he's over 1,000 OPS. I would have never known. Charlie Chino Smith. He's a right fielder, or you can put him at second. He's a 10 in right or an 8 in second. So you've got a Gold Glove caliber right fielder in this guy that can also play good second, hits 349, and has good power. That's a good player right here. Let's see, Ted Strong, posing hitter, 315 hitter, right below 1,000 OPS, got 24 home runs. Let's see what kind of fielder is he. Yeah, not a great infielder. He's halfway decent in right. And then we have another one that's up here near the top, which is Charlie Blackwell, a 9-arm, 8 in right field, rarely strikes out, OPS of 145, steal bases. Charlie Blackwell. If you need a left-handed right fielder, this is a good one right here. Marcelino Guerra. Let's see what we got right here. 257 hitter. His OPS about 110. So now we're down to kind of that average range. He is a 9 in left though. That's a good one. Johnny Jones here. It's another one I've done. Good fielder. Batting's right at average, right? So, and then what's somebody else that stands out? How about Bonnie Sorrell? I don't have Bonnie Sorrell. Let me take a look at my list over here. Well, let's go. Bonnie Sorrell. Okay. Oh, I'll add him to the list, MV. Added to the list. Got him on the list. So Bonnie Sorrell, Elgria, the vacuum cleaner. So let's take a look at him here. 40s player. I can usually kind of tell how close the MLEs will be, because a lot of times it's really weird. It's closer to, like, if you see a batter that maybe was 330 and their career average is like 314, you'll see his MLEs, depending on the years, right? I'm starting to where I can kind of get a good guess before I even start doing the formulas. He'll probably be close to around his career. that's kind of how the equivalencies will play out. Now, it depends on year. It's not this is very ballpark, but take a look at fielding. We can start look at the ratings here. Basically, second baseman. It's showing his range right around. It's probably average if I look at depending on the years. Yeah, it's probably be about depending on the year. If he's using this year with those ranges, I would be probably going to be a 7 second baseman is what I would say. My guess would be, and be above a 300 hitter even after the MLEs are done. So, and he'll be a good player at second. Cool. There's one I hadn't even looked at yet. He's on the list, MV. In fact, let's take a look at before I run here. I'm going to take a peek at second baseman. Let's see where he might have been. Here's one I need to add to my list, which is Tommy Sampson. Bill Handy, that'll be one to do. Significant amount of plate appearances. Interesting. Here's a name. And like I said, when you get down to some of these names that are like under 100 or plate appearances under 100, it'll be major league players. Here's George Cutshaw, right? Um, and some of the games that they played against Negro League players, Mexican ball, Cuban baseball, and some of them have some significant at bats in here to be rated. Of course, I'm not building cards for them, but it is kind of cool when you get down in here. Some of those players have above WAR because that the above WAR is not limited to a minimum number of games, right? He played 79, or I only had 79 plate appearances, and he's rated there. So sometimes I'll look at it this way. Then other times I'll just take this list and rearrange it by the most plate appearances, and then work my way down this way too. So here's somebody right here that'll Claude Johnson, Pat Patterson, who I think I've got Pat Patterson done. Um, and I'll work my way down this way, like Bill Monroe's done. Bob Miller's on his way. Um, so just a different way for me to kind of work my way down and figure out who to add to my list and build. But as you can see, there's many down here that I haven't built that here's some that are just a hair below average, just a hair, but they need to be built. Harry Bachman here, basically an average player, but he's got substantial playing time for this file, so he needs to be built. So he will be in there. So I have no doubt I'm going to be able to get over 500. And the key is if I can get to 500, then it's stop and enjoy it versus bringing more obscure players in. But can I stop? I don't know if I can. Because then if I get to 500 and we start playing a league file, then in my off time when we're not playing with that league file, I'm adding other players to it to make it grow from 500 to 550 or 550 to 600. Who knows? Or when more seam heads information gets put in, I'm going back when there's enough to re-edit a player or add somebody now that maybe didn't have that many plate appearances. So yeah, it'll never end. Never end. Vic Harris. Yes, indeed. Let's take a look at Vic Harris. Yeah, Cheney White I've got. So here's Vic Harris. He's a left fielder. Mainly, yeah, 145 games in left, 3 in right. He is a 134 OPS, which is good, and 321 hitter. And he's an 8 in left, a 6 in right with an 8 arm. This is a good player. Lefty batter. And Cheney White. Yeah, aggressive base runner that used spike high slides. And I'll tell you what, MV, since you are an Action PC baseball owner, how about this? You send me an email And my email is state21, STATE 21, at comcast.net. So you send me an email and I will send you this file I have with the 240 players done and the photo pack too, if you want to dress it up and have fun. And then MV, you can start cranking out games, having fun, and play testing. Only if you're up for it. You let me know. But I wouldn't think somebody that owns every baseball file that Action has would be against this. But I'm hoping you wouldn't mind doing that. And I'll send you the file and let you start testing it. And at the same time, you can. It's helpful because you can look and see if there's any, anomalies or typos or things like that. It'd be great. And that's state 21, STATE 21 at Comcast.net. Cheney White, aggressive base runner that used spike high slides. He's a 119 OPS. He's above average hitter, 315 average. And fielding, he is a 9 in left, a 6 in center, and a 7 in right. So, yeah, he's a good fielder and a good batter. Cheney White. This will be version 1. Yeah, beta. Call it version 1 beta testing. But yeah, it'd be fun because since you're into this and it'd be great to have you kind of proof through some of this and see what you can sort out and have some fun with it. And then you can have you're getting a little scouting, a little quality control and scouting at the same time, and mix in some fun. This would be fun to play. Take a look at pitchers real quick and look at the basic pitching, I guess, for now. Oh yeah, in week 3 found him Donaldson. Yeah, now, let's take a look at him too. Now, some of the early pitchers, I went back and did Page. I think the first 15 to 20 pitchers that I got the file in, I still have notes next to them to go back and just double check that I ran all the formulas the right way to get their lines. And I still haven't done that for about the first. I've got a list over here as a blank. I'm going to put a check mark once I've gone back and done that. So those will be re-reviewed. So let's say pitching minimum, let's say at least 100 innings pitched. Let's take a look at the value. So here's the value. Now, granted, some of these people are playing positions. So Martin Dihigo is in there, even though he's pretty much not a main pitcher. But what's funny is look at the value it's placed on Bill Gatewood. I hadn't noticed this before because I just done him in the last week or two. Page, we saw him if you watch that game. Joe Williams, Cyclone Williams, and Page going after it. Page was dominant. But this name, Bill Gatewood, is up here. So let's click on him. Spitball pitcher pitched the first no-hitter in the Negro League Baseball League, taught Page his hesitation pitch. So if we look at him, his clutch rating, and any of you that aren't familiar with the game engine, the clutch rating is one where that's what's built in to try to help emulate the ERA, meaning, sometimes it's situational. And the people that could get out that had a decent amount of runners on but didn't let them score, that's how the clutch rating is reflected in the game, right? It tightens them up a little bit and they bear down better when they've got runners on. And a 10 is pretty good, which meant, he's probably got a decent amount of walks. He's got 75 walks here. He gave up, he's close to giving up the same amount of hits per inning pitched, right? I mean, he's not dominant. Some of the times you'll see people that pitch 280 innings only gave up 220 or 30 hits. So he let some base runners on. His whip's 1.22, but his ERA is better than the whip should make it. That's one way to look at it. And there's where you'll see the game engine give a clutch rating based on those ratios. Awesome. MV, thanks. So yeah, state21 at comcast.net is my email. you ping me or hit me up on that email, say hi, and I will attach this file, and I'll send the I'll also attach the photo pack file too, because to me, what fun, might as well add the photos and have some fun with that, right? And again, feel free to look at my bio. There's already a couple of things I need to change here that I've put in here. If you see any spelling errors or something looks wonky to you, um, let me know. So yeah, Bill Gatewood. This is probably when people say, "What surprised you?" This is. I didn't realize he was this good of a pitcher. Look at his ERA plus 197. This guy's tough. Um, Another one that's really good, let me get down to him here, is John Donaldson. He's ranked number 10 right now as far as the value assigned. And if we click on him, you can see he's got a great lefty pitcher. He's a 284 batter. So here's the other thing about Donaldson. This is what makes him such a good player, right? He's a good pitcher, right? 1.126 whip. It's great. He can pitch 35 games, start 28. Now let's go over to bat or fielding. Take a look at this. He can play 85 games in center, 5 in right, 8 in left. So it's almost like when he's not pitching, you can put him in the field. He's above average fielder, and batting, he's a 284 hitter. So here's another person that would be great to have on the team. Lots of option, right? Lots of options. I've got Dolph Luke, and he is on here, a major league player, but he's on this file because of all the innings pitch he had in years and the influence and everything in the Negro Leagues. Was a great pitcher there. And he's rated up pretty high here in the top 9. Juan Padron. This is one I didn't know till I mean, we know Cannonball Redding, Cyclone Joe, Bullet Rogan, but here's Juan Padron, two-time shutout leader in the 10s and 20s, and he taught Willie Foster to throw a changeup. So that cool little tidbits how these players shared with each other. So can start 31 games. You can see here his 177 ERA plus, and he's another one. If you look at that, he's going to give up, a decent amount of hits to inning pitch and a high number of walks right here. But then when you look at his ERA plus and then that clutch rating of 10 is there to be able to emulate his ability to pitch better with runners on. So we can see we've got quite a few pitchers here. And if we go by games started, let's go to expanded pitching, we can see. Boom. And here's kind of your game started. Kind of odd. Now, here's the one thing that I found interesting, and it's just a little bit all over, but hey, it is what it is. It's hard to get them to look exactly like um, major league players. And what I've seen with the MLEs is it will follow pretty closely what they did in real life. For example, they'll try to extrapolate out on seam heads for a 162 game season. And a lot of times you'll see players that were pitchers. Sometimes they pitched every third game for their team or every 2.5 games they were up there pitching. But to put it in the context of MLB, the MLE formulas um, don't produce a game started. Okay. Um, they'll produce wins, they'll produce inning pitches, hits, all that good stuff, right? So if I go to seam heads, I'll use seam heads for their overall ratios of how many like they started per how many games they were in, and I'll look at the 3 season I'm using and figure out kind of what the ratio was. Were they somebody that was a tier 1 starter or a 2 or 3, and I'll use a combination of those. So here's what I've got. So you can start seeing here 30 on this file, 45 games total, 35 started. Wickware really stands out. A lot of times Dick Redding has the most number of game appearances. So you'll see it's pretty standard back then that it's very similar to like the same era during the major leagues, right? You didn't see a lot of people that, you know, pitched in 42 games and started all 42 every once in a while, but you'd see a lot of these, right? Started 40 and, or started 35 out of 42 and stuff like that. So very similar. Uh, Wickware. This was a guy I wasn't very familiar with either. And outstanding curve. The 6 didn't play any other position, only a 185 hitter when it comes to pitching. He's a 7 on clutch, ERA 107. So he can pitch a ton for you. As far as he's got the most starts on here, but he's just a little bit of above average pitcher. So no doubt they're getting a bump in value because they really value starts that the pitcher can have versus how well they did in the start. So definitely a formula going on. Bob McClure, here's another one that stands out. Right. And it's sad when you can see right here, I've had sometimes with these players, there's one player I'm getting ready to build, and I've held off on building him because I have not found a picture for him yet. And that's John Tubby Barnes. I have his line done, but I was trying to hold off before I built him and make sure that I had a photo. Don't have a photo yet. So here is Bob McClure. So what I'm going to do now is, yeah, uh-oh, Gianella Tiani's here. This is my dad. Discovered your channel. He's obsessed. You play and organize the game. Very similar to him. His name's also Steve. Well, welcome. Glad you tuned in. I'm just going through this Negro League file I've been working on. If you're new to this, because um, it's a big project. So started from the Beatles Eternally channel and the Ned McGreevy Dead Ball League, and it's just some people that love old time baseball trying. And what we realized is there just really isn't a file like this out there um, that has really this deep of an all-time greats file. I don't know if there is. I know we've got files out there that have teams on it, and we're about to have more. And maybe some great players, but better known ones. But we're going to have 500 plus on this file. So this has been, I'm just popping on here a couple times a week now to give some updates. Probably will, maybe this week if I get a chance, I can put another demo game up there to play a game. But just really enjoying this as we kind of go through and build these teams out and test them and rate them and all that good stuff for, yeah, above average times longevity, one form of greatness for sure. And that's definitely why um, Frank Wickware was rated as high as he is. But you can see right here, if you look at the leaderboard based on their real stats of who we built, no real surprises, I don't think, that stand out here. Other than Dobie Moore is a lot better than I thought from looking at this as a batter. Harold Baines, yeah, MV, like it or not, yeah, I guess Harold Baines falls into that category. He stuck around a long time and was effective. Very good example. So my next players to do, I got Bonnie Sorrell on there. It will be, yeah, I'll be cranking out one, two, probably about 8 shortstops, and then Bonnie Sorrell as a second baseman. I'm going to knock out some of the infield positions, and then I probably move on and start knocking out 10 or 20 pitchers. I just find it entertaining that way, right? Because I can go through my war list and figure out who's left to build. Oh, here's second base. Let me put some names down. Okay, let me go look at shortstop, and I can kind of work my way down that list to figure out who to build. Oh, Big Clue is going to give MV some crap, right? Um, but yeah, more of this. So, my whole goal with this channel was to, highlight some action PC baseball, and then my 5-year franchise files, and oh my gosh, football and all that, and really everything I've kind of put on the back burner, and devoting all my effort towards this file. Once this file's done, I thought I was going to take a break, and then I remembered, nope, I'm going to create that all-time MLB greats file with the same 3 years. So, um, I may take a deep breath and go slower at that because I think there's so much fun to be had with this file once we get 500 players on it. It'll be really cool. So um, appreciate everybody hopping in. Gianella, great for stopping by, and tell your dad, hey, thanks. Tell him to hit that subscribe thing, and glad he's interested in the same kind of stuff we are and the same projects. And what else have I got here? This one right here, I think, was one that you all recommended, or one that I found. Danny McClellan, smart pitcher, threw a perfect game in '03. In fact, I think he was the first pitcher to ever throw a perfect game. Threw a lot of curves to offset his fastball. He's a 183 ERA plus. So uh, his value is 6.5, probably because he doesn't have as many starts. Let's look at it. Yeah, he's only going to start 30, but here's a guy. Oh yeah, this is me. Peak slices. I don't like the 1 year. Yeah, careers watered down. Um, yeah, and a lot of times when I've done the peaks, I've been trying to find like I like a 2 year run for a 5 year slice of a team in a row. I did the 3 years straight, but this one I like because since I'm going to look at trying to do a peak of their career, I'm taking three. They're three best. They don't have to be in a row or whatever. So I'm really having fun with this approach. I'm really liking it. And that's why I want to carry this same thing over and do an MLB greats using the exact same approach so the two worlds can collide in a good way. Um, yeah, so Danny McClellan, I don't know why his rating is 6.5 million. He should be worth a lot more because let's take a look at, oh, I just shut him off. Let's take a look at this. So here's a pitcher I wouldn't have known a whole lot about. He can play center and right. In fact, he can pitch 30 games. He can 36 in center and 36 in right, and a 250 batter. So what else are we gonna look at here? Anyway, I need to run. I don't need to, but I guess I can run. I've got some time left, and you know what, MV? I'm gonna send you that file. I haven't checked my email yet, but I'm gonna get you that file here in about 10 minutes, and let me know how you like it. Have fun with it, doing some testing for me, and then I'm going to get to cranking some few extra players out today, and I think I should be able to. My goal again, starting Thursday through the weekend. I got some family coming into town. We're going to do some family stuff, so I probably won't get a chance to build, but I'm hoping I can get about another 30 players done. Each player takes me about 20 to 30 minutes. If that's all I'm doing is just go start and I'm not distracted or whatever. Um, So I'm hoping I could get 25 to 30 done between now and I guess next weekend. And that would take me up to about 280. And then I can, once family leaves, they'll be like, hey, great seeing you. Bye. Um, runs created. Let's go take a look at that. Wow, I love, we can do everything we want. Let's go to the database. Batters. It's got to be under expanded hitting, I would say. Now let's come up with a new one. Oh, here we go. Batting averages. It's already got a report. RC27. Well, there you go. Oscar Charleston and Josh Gibson practically tied. Torriente's right there. Smith, Heavy Johnson, Willie Wells, Turkey Stearns. The usual names. Yeah, it makes me wonder. Let me drop a. How would we do that, Big Clue? Can you drop it in the chat that sends him a link to that Discord, or could I do it? Let me see if I can technologically make it happen. See, I go to Deadball 2022. How the heck do I invite somebody or drop a link in here, right? What do I do? What do I do? Invite people. Oh, here you go. This, if you click on this link, Gianella, you will have, this should, that is the invitation link to the Deadball 2022 that all of us are part of. Um, and it was, I think it was originally started when Beatles Eternally was running the Ned McGreevy League, but the Deadball League that they're just wrapping up. But yeah, if you or your dad are interested, hit that Discord and you can join our discussion because we have a lot of stuff on there where we'll just you know put up some announcements, talk about that league, that Deadball League, but also we've got some stuff in there about Action PC Baseball, some other games that people like on Baseball for Windows and DMB that other people are using, and then I've got one under there called the Tate Negro League file that I haven't really started posting much there. I need to start posting more um, reports and things like that. So feel free to join. And yeah, RC27. So cool. Isolated power, slugging, value, all the good stuff right here. Total average. A lot of cool reports to look at in here. Here's another one that's pretty high up here. Steel Arm Davis. Hot temper. There's an interesting fact, right? Had a hot temper and was killed in a barroom fight in Indiana in 1941. So some really interesting, colorful characters that were, well, in baseball all around back then, but just an entertaining league and just fun bios to read. You bet, Gianella. Glad you joined us, and as Big Clusa, it'd be great to hear what you all are doing with projects and stuff, and share ideas and just chat up some good baseball sim talk. So Steel Arm Davis, let's see here. Yeah, 135 OPS. So I guess I'm going to take off, go back to building some of these, and MV, um, look at your email in about 5 minutes. And I'll see you all down the road sometime, and maybe I'll pop on sometime before Thursday of next week with kind of an update of where we're at. And I may go ahead and do a master list and have it ready of people that I think should be carded, and that will give me a good idea, position by position, which players will be in the final 500, or I might kind of see what that total number might look like, because now I'm a little bit curious. Nice. Hey, we all, what do you call? There's always a doppelganger or a twin out there. So anyway, have a great day, and I'll be back probably in a couple of days with another update. So we'll see y'all later.